As a
Ooh.
16-year-old girl, something inside me was completely crushed. I I can't even express how devastated I was in that time. And I think I basically lost half my body size. That's how long I didn't eat. And my body was starting to show the signs. I was dangerously thin at this
Right.
stage because I hadn't eaten in so long.
Ooh.
Shock. I just stared at this photo and I couldn't believe what my face. I couldn't believe was that me? My eyes were sunken and lifeless. My cheeks were hollow, and
Hmm.
I was not being kind to myself at all for such a long, long, long time.
If you've ever felt like you're hiding parts of yourself or struggling silently while everyone around you thinks you're okay, you need to hear this. Tina battled an eating disorder whilst pretending everything was fine from the outside. But in 2008, one moment, one speaker's word changed the direction of Tina's life completely. And what started as a healing journey became a journey back to herself. Today, she shares a powerful message about authenticity, reconnecting with joy and purpose, and learning to be kind to yourself again. If you've ever felt a disconnection from who you truly are, then this conversation is going to speak to you.
Just before I start, Sandy, I just want to let your listeners know that some of the things I might say might be a little bit triggering. So if there is something that is triggering, please to reach out to someone if they need some help. So I need to start from the very beginning. I'm 8 years old. I'm at choir and I'm singing loud and proud. And the teacher turned to me at the end of the song and said, "Tina, you're singing too loud." So in that moment, the little girl that I was crushed. And so that's when I started to hide who I was. I started to mask myself. I withdrew. I wasn't this loud, bubbly, happy-go-lucky girl that I was. So that's part of my story, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. If we're talking about the eating disorder, the seeds were planted in my head when I was about 10 years old. So I'm at my nonna's farm and I'm talking to my two aunties. And I was a kid. I don't know what I said. I must have said something about being skinny, right? And so my auntie turned to me and said, "Tina, it's because you've got worms. And when you get older, you're going to get fat." I didn't realize how much of an impact that had on me on the time. So I went through puberty, I started high school, and, I went to an all-girls school. And I remember this day so clearly. I was in year 8, it's my first year in high school, and I'm walking up the stairs, and one of the girls turned around to everyone and yelled out, "Look at Tina's hairy legs." And everybody completely started laughing, and I felt so embarrassed. But that again planted this little seed that there was something wrong with my body. I raced home and told my mum, and within a week I had my legs waxed. I'm Italian background, thick, hairy, black legs. It was excruciating. But, Sandy, I just wanted to fit in, right? You do this stuff as a kid, the things you do just so you can fit in.
Yeah.
So that was year 8. And then so I was in my last year of high school. And this is where things started to really, hit in and make me realize that I felt that I was different, right? So it's sports day, and one of my friends had left her tracksuit pants behind, and I happened to have a spare pair in my bag. And I said, "Oh, you can borrow my pair." And she was quite naturally thin. So she put them on, and then everybody started laughing because they were baggy and they hung off her. And that was the first time that I realized I was carrying extra weight. Not long after that is when things really, really went bad. I was in a school musical. It's an all-girls school. Our brother's school was invited to join us. And so, we were doing this musical. I was partnered up with somebody. We had to do this dance move where he had to pick me up. Not quite dirty dancing, but anyway, he had to lift me. And I thought things were going really well. I was, trying really hard not to step on his feet. So in my mind, everything was going really well. But then one day I was running late for rehearsals. And as I'm slipping, I was in the wings and I was just about to step out on stage. And that's when I overheard him talking to another girl in the production. And he said, I don't want to be Tina's dance partner because she is too fat to lift.
Oh.
As a 16-year-old girl, something inside me was completely crushed. I can't even express how devastated I was in that time. And I think, from the comment when I was 10, the sports day, the hairy legs, I just thought there was something wrong with my body, that I wasn't like all the other girls. And that comment really, really just broke my heart. And I just stopped eating Sandy. I cannot remember for how long I didn't eat, but it would have been weeks and weeks and weeks. I basically lost half my body size. That's how long I didn't eat. And my body was starting to show the signs. There were red welts all over my arms, and I'm from Perth, and so it's hot summers, and I'd be wearing a jumper, and people would say to me, Tina, why are you wearing a jumper in a heat wave? And if you're from Perth, you know how hot it gets here. And I would just laugh it off and say, I don't feel the heat.
Yeah.
So the production ended. I still didn't start eating after that. Then it was getting closer to the end of the year, so we had our school end of year dinner. And I got very excited. I picked out my auntie, another auntie, not the ones from when I was 10, was a dressmaker. And so I picked out this blue dress. Oh, gosh, it's hideous now that I think about it, with all these frills. I was like, back then I had long hair and it was all permed. What a sight. Anyway, I thought, the dress was going to make me look glamorous anyway. So I went for a fitting. And the thing is, Sandy, that in this whole entire time, nobody said a word about my weight loss. Not my family, not my friends, not my teachers. And I'd lost half my body weight. I was dangerously thin at this stage because I hadn't eaten in so long.
Ooh.
And during the dress fitting, my auntie turned to me and said, Tina, you're looking really skinny. And again, just laughed it off. And again, this is about this masking, which I didn't really understand back then, but I hid everything. So I just want to stop here for a second and talk to parents who are listening right now. And if you miss the signs, please do not think it's your fault. I just got really good at hiding and masking. I was smiling and happy on the outside, but in the inside, I was struggling. I was, my world was falling apart. So if you are a parent, please be kind to yourself, but look for the signs. For me, it was like my school skirts. I would wear safety pins to make them smaller and smaller. I had red welts over my body. I've eaten dinner. It's okay. I isolated myself from my family so that no one would see that I'm not eating breakfast, lunch, or dinner at all. So that's just a little thing for parents listening. Be kind to yourself and just, if you see the signs, just gently speak to your child. Anyway, so we'll get back to my story. So it was the end of year dinner. I was all dressed up thinking, looking so good. And during the night, we had photos taken. So we had a group photo. And about a week later, the photo arrived, not digital. It was in an envelope, a white envelope. And I opened it up and shock. I just stared at this photo and I couldn't believe what my face. I couldn't believe was that me? My eyes were sunken and lifeless. My cheeks were hollow, and I
Hmm.
think that just snapped me right out of, oh my gosh, my body's dying. What am I doing to myself?
Hmm.
So I did start eating again, but barely, right? I just enough just to select, because my body was like, I swear, so close to organ failure. I hadn't eaten in so long. I honestly don't know how I survived. So I went to university, but again, barely eating. I remember one day I hadn't eaten, so I went to the cafeteria and got a packet of salt and tomato sauce, and that was my lunch. Who does that? But in my mind, I'm eating. It
Hmm.
was it was
Wow.
no way to live. It was just a really hard time. But then started going to the gym and I started martial arts. So I had to eat, right? So, which was a
Mm-hmm.
really good thing because I was
Right.
working out so much. So that forced me to eat because I needed to maintain that energy to be able to perform that level. Then I met my husband, I got married, I had kids, and I'm really proud of myself that when I had my kids, I didn't starve myself at all. So, because the focus was on not me, the
Mm-hmm.
focus was on keeping these beautiful babies inside me fit and healthy. So when they came out,
Right.
they were just they they were just healthy babies. So for both of my pregnancies, it was great, and God, it was such a relief not to have to worry about my body at the time. I guess because I was just worried about feeding my kids and make sure looking after them. Then, not long after, it was my birthday, and my kids were quite young then, maybe 4, I'm guessing, can't remember, 2 and 4. And so I decided to have a birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
All the family and friends came over, and somebody was taking video. And the next day, I sat down on my bed to watch the video and burst into tears. To me, in my eyes, I had put on
Hmm.
so much weight. Sandy, I can't describe or tell
Oh.
you how the next 8 years
Hmm.
of my life were probably one of the worst times. I was either extremely dieting, starvation, self-harm, punishing myself for putting on weight. It was just an awful time. I'd live off 5 cups of coffee for a week or 2 just to try and lose weight. I was doing ridiculous diets that were not sustainable, weren't healthy for my mind and my body.
Yeah. Mm.
So, and then in all that, my marriage breaks down, and so I'm having to care for 2 young children. I'm, battling this eating disorder. I don't know how I'm going to survive financially. And then a friend mentioned to me, Tina, I had a big house at the time, right? She said, Tina, why don't you rent out your rooms to international students? I thought, great, that is going to save my house. By this stage, my boys are older, and
Right.
it was the hardest thing I had to do, Sandy, and telling them was even worse. They didn't understand. They just said, Mum, you're selfish. Why don't you just sell the house? Why
Hmm.
do we have to live with strangers? And why do we
Right.
have to share our rooms? So they had to give up their rooms, and I converted other rooms into a bedroom for them. I felt like an absolute failure as a mother. I was so close to rock bottom. Things were not looking good for me at that time. And so I just didn't know what to do. I ended up getting a part-time job because the international students were paying, at least we could buy food so we could eat and I could support my kids, but I just
Yeah.
needed that little bit extra. So I got a part-time job with a chiropractor. And as part of working there, his friend from Canada was a wellness speaker who was coming over, right? And so we were all told we had to attend his friend's wellness talk. I remember this day
Right.
clearly because it was on the exact day that I decided that I would start starving myself because I thought that was the only way that I could lose weight. So here I go
Hmm.
along to this wellness talk, and he's gone on and on and on about, hey, you have to eat healthy and you've got to move well by exercising and you have to have really good thoughts. I'm thinking, mate, I don't care what you are saying. I'm not interested. Unless you tells me
Hmm.
something about how to lose weight, then whatever.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so, and so I understand a lot of people that might be listening now might be thinking the same thing, listening to me. Oh, whatever, Tina, all right. But you know what? He changed my life, and I was not ready to change. There might be someone out there
Right.
who's not ready to change, right? They're not ready to listen to someone telling them to start eating, to be healthy, to move well. That was me.
No.
That's where I was at. But about halfway through, right, he stopped and he slowly
Right.
turned to everybody in the audience and
Hmm.
clearly and slowly said, stop killing yourselves.
Wow.
And in that moment,
Hmm.
I'm back to where I'm 16. I'm standing in
Oh.
the wings of the stage, listening. Oh gosh, I'm going to get emotional. I said to myself I wouldn't get emotional, but I'm bringing
Oh.
myself back to that moment, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to this boy say to this girl, I don't want to be Tina's dance partner because she's too fat to lift. But Sandy, what I had
Mm.
told myself back then as that 16-year-old girl, which I didn't realize, was Tina
Mhm.
is too fat to live. And that's what I'd been doing.
Oh.
I'd been punishing myself. I'd been and I was killing myself. And so that's why his words really hit me so
Wow.
hard
Wow.
because I get, oh my gosh, this is what I have done to my body and my life
Oh.
because of what someone said. And
Can
because
I
of this
can I
month.
interrupt?
Yeah, go, go,
Oh,
go. Yeah,
sorry.
absolutely, Sandy, go.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? So in your mind, you had registered the thought of Tina is too. Is it too fat to leave? Tina
Yeah.
is. It's too what? What had you registered in your head? Tina is too fat to leave.
Yes, but he had said too fat to
Too
lift.
fat to lift.
That's what
And
he
then
said.
in.
But in
Yeah.
my
And your
mind, I went too
everything
fat to
got
live.
twisted.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Oof. Okay. All right.
Yeah. It was
Go
a
on.
really big, big wake up call. And so this started me on this journey of, okay, it's been a tough journey. I'm going to be completely honest. I am not perfect.
Yeah.
I have had so many ups and downs where I've lapsed and I've come back, but nothing to where I was, that time in my life when I was 16 and then that 8 years of where I was really, really in a really bad state. But it's normal. It's okay. It's okay
Yeah.
to be going up and down. And the other thing is that this whole entire time I still masked everything. So no one knew about the eating disorder. No one knew about all the struggles I had financially because I masked and I learnt to mask at 8 years old. Tina, don't be
Yeah.
loud, don't share, don't be you, hide the real you. So I
Right.
had to go on this
Ju-
journey. Yeah, go, Sandy.
right. Just interrupt you for a minute as well. You are talking about masking, and this brings me back to some questions that I had when you started speaking about you sharing your story. You mentioned you looked at your picture and you
Yes.
were shocked. You lost so much weight. Did anyone in your family not say anything, not pick up anything, not worry? Was anything brought up?
No, no, I only told my parents at the end of last year, Sandy. And I've kept this story hidden from the whole entire world and my family up until the end of last year. No one said a word. That's why, because you
Wow.
learn to hide so well. Yeah. And they were busy. I was the eldest of 4 kids. I was studying, always in my room studying, making excuses. So it was really hard to hide. And I hid it in my marriage. I just hid it from everybody. Nobody knew up until a couple of, the end of last year, that this is what I had been going through with the divorce and everything that I had to endure in my life.
Wow. So let's just go back to the mask thing, because you were
Yes.
hiding behind a mask. And what did that actually look like on a day-to-day basis, hiding behind a mask?
So for other people, I was known as bubbly Tina because that's what I did. The smile. For
Mm,
everyone on the outside, everything was okay. The bigger the smile, the worse
yeah.
things were going inside of me, because that
Wow.
was my way of
Wow.
hiding it. Um, and so I guess I learnt to hide again from that comment when I was 8. So I learnt that, you can't speak up. So I withdrew a
Mm,
lot, and I even probably, if something's really upsets me, I will laugh and smile, but
right.
the impact and what it has on the inside is just devastating. So that's what it looked like. Everyone thought that everything was okay because it was just bubbly Tina with a big smile on, but in the inside was a different story.
Mm,
It was the only way I could get through it, I guess, because I didn't share it with anyone else. Nobody knew. No, I had no help or support. Definitely, if you're in the same situation as me, get help and support. I would have recovered a lot
absolutely. Yeah.
quicker if I had people and shared that with me. But I guess that's just my
Mm,
story and what I had to go through. And hopefully by me sharing this with your audience, they'll go, I'll reach out and get help, because you don't need to suffer
wow.
alone. Don't suffer alone like I did. It was not a very good time in my life.
Absolutely. And for those listening, you've heard what Tina said. Don't suffer alone. Don't do what she did. Because look, she only got to speak out about it recently, like last year, end of
Yes.
last year. I think you said something like that.
Yes.
So please speak out. Don't be afraid to speak out. There's always someone out there who can understand what you're going through. There's always someone out there who can relate to what you're going through. So don't try and mask things. It will just get worse and worse.
Mhm.
And on that note, Tina, let's go back and talk about the struggles that you were facing. At that time, did you actually realize how much you were struggling, or everything just felt normal? That was your normal.
I guess because I had the young children, couldn't really focus on me. I really had to focus on the kids at the time. So I didn't. It was just normal. You're a mum with two young kids, gone through a
Mm,
divorce. I mean, well, they were a little bit old actually, but the struggles of with having to juggle working part time and looking after. I had 3 international students with me, so I had 5 children in my house at the time. I didn't have
right.
time at all, Sandy, to worry about me. It was like
Wow.
I just had to get
Wow.
on. I just had to do it. Otherwise, I would have lost my house, and I needed to keep a roof over my house. That was the only thing that I guess was driving me, was not having to have not a roof over my house, and my kids and I being homeless. So I really
Mm,
had to, just focus on them and working at the
wow.
time.
Wow. And I can really see the pattern from childhood to being an adult, losing your marriage and everything. You still continue to focus on everything else other than Tina.
Hmm. For a long
And
time.
mm, and how are you trying to cope with all these things that you're going through? Was it through the eating disorder, or what means were you trying to cope with all these things that you were going through?
I guess after if we look at the road of recovery, I guess and how that helped me with coping, I can share that path with you. Where
Hmm.
so during the eating disorder, you just cope, right? But
Yeah.
after I attended the wellness talk, that's when I decided that I needed to focus inward because I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. It's like when you don't know what you don't know, but now I knew that I'm doing this to
Yeah.
my body. So all that coping and all the things that I had done in the past, I really had to let go. It was really hard, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
the eating disorder was so ingrained in me, and I'd been doing it for so long. So I really had to have a real shift in my mindset about
Right.
I had to put me in the center of my life. I'd put everybody else and all my children. And in that moment, I realized that if I didn't put me in the center of my life, and if I wasn't healthy and I wasn't happy, then my family wasn't going to be, how was I meant to be able to work and support them? So that
Yeah.
started me on this journey of recovery. And it was long. I mean, trust me, it took me years and years and years. I think that's why now I'm in such a good place. I'm able to share my story because it took
Mm-hmm.
me years of trial and error. Again, nobody knew what was going on. No one knew that I was going through this recovery stage. And I learnt the first thing, and it's a bit of philosophy that I've come up with, which is ARK, which is
Mm-hmm.
ARK. And the first
Mm-hmm.
thing I realized in my philosophy of A was being authentic. So
Yeah.
I then had to do something where I could unmask and be my true
Right.
authentic self. And for me, that was
Right.
volunteering at a children's hospital as a radio
Mm-hmm.
lollipop volunteer. And basically, you go around to each child in the hospital rooms and you entertain them and you read them stories. And I just remember that we had to dress up one day and I was in a tennis costume because you need to pick your favorite sport. And so I had a tennis racket over my shoulder and, my hat on my head. And I was going from room to room entertaining the children, being my fully authentic self. Because you can't hide from kids. Kids are good; they'll know if you're faking it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to
Mm-hmm.
let that all again aside and just you be your true self. And I loved it because it gave me the opportunity. I found a place where I could be just me. And I remember one day, so I was full of energy on the other ward, so we had to go into the cancer ward. And I just opened up this door to this room and I just stopped because it was really dimly lit. And this beautiful
Right.
little boy with his, sad eyes and his bald little head just looking up at me. And he'd had his whole
Mm.
entire family around him. And I went, oh gosh, what am I going to do now? I've just burst into this room and everyone's like so quiet. And being Italian background, I just threw my arms up and said,
Mm-hmm.
hello. And as I've done that, I've knocked my hat
Mm.
off my head. And the little boy
Mm.
sat up and burst into laughter. And in that moment, I thought, what do I do? Do I just continue on and be me, my authentic self, or do I just be quiet? And I thought, no, I'm going to be me. So fully
Mm-hmm.
self-expressed. The whole room was in laughter by the end of it. I thought that I'd given this boy and the family a gift. He gave me the gift, Sandy. He gave me permission to be
Mm.
me. And in that one moment, I was my true, authentic self, unmasked, and it was just beautiful. And so that's what I learned. Find
Wow.
people, find places, find something where you can be your true, authentic self. And then the next
Wow.
step was the R. What's the R? It's reconnection and reconnect with things that bring
Mm-hmm.
you joy and fun. And I love singing. I absolutely, even though, okay, listen, right, 8 years old, she told me, Tina, don't be loud, don't sing. So I really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really suppressed that joy that I had for singing. And then again, the musical,
Wow.
where even though it wasn't, I wasn't singing, it was still the musical. Actually, where were we singing? I can't remember now. I know there was dancing. Maybe there
Mm-hmm.
was dancing and singing.
Mm.
So long ago. So that was two things where, again, it really suppressed who I was. So I joined a chorus and I went to America and we sung in America and I was on stage and I just forgot how much I love singing. So reconnect with things that bring you joy, right? So do those things. And like I said, for me, it was singing. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have to be, it could
Singing.
be anything. It could be anything you like.
Yeah.
And then the last thing was the K, and that was at kindness. I was not being kind to myself at all for such a long, long, long time. And it's even hard. I know as women, it's really hard to make time for ourselves, to be kind to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
whenever I feel there is something missing in my life, I look at where is there a leak in my arc? Am I not being authentic? Have I not
Mm.
reconnected with things that
Wow.
bring me joy? Am I not being kind to myself? And I can tell you probably 9 times out of 10, I am not
Mm.
being kind to myself. So now I do. I have to, it's so hard. My kids are grown up, but I still have to remind myself it's okay to go buy something nice for yourself. I give myself permission
Yeah.
to do that. And the last little piece of my story that had been missing for such a long time was a couple of years ago, I was
Mm.
diagnosed with ADHD. And so neurodiverse,
Right.
gosh, it was like, oh, I understand why I felt so different in high school. Why did I mask? The
Ah.
really big thing when you have ADHD is the masking. Now, I'm going to say this, and
Right.
if parents are listening, if you're neurodiverse, there is an increased chance they have some sort of eating disorder. Now, I'm not saying that your child has an eating disorder if they're neurodiverse, but just
Mm.
be mindful that is something just to keep in the back of the minds that could be something that's going along happening for your child. So,
Yeah.
gosh, it's like the light bulb went
Mm-hmm.
off. Right? Okay, the incident when I'm
Yeah.
8, the things that
Mm-hmm.
happen in high school, and that's what for me was linked to my ADHD because I got so focused on losing weight. Nothing. I had
Right.
hyper focus. Nothing else mattered. I didn't care what was happening in my body. I didn't care what was happening around me. It was that hyper
Mm.
focus. So, especially for women, a lot of women are undiagnosed, right? So, if you're listening, you think, hey, I'm sounding like some of these things might be some of the things that I might be
Yeah.
doing. I
Yeah.
highly recommend that you seek out someone and get a test done. It just made so much sense to me that wow, that explains so much of the mask and why all these things, why I felt so different in my life. So
Mm.
and this is what's brought me to like last year to finally share my story. There have been on this really long journey, and I can tell you it was not easy. There was a lot of times when I didn't think I'd still be here because it gotten that bad. But I don't want anyone else to go through what I did. Please, 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 please get help, get support. Think about my arc. Be authentic, reconnect, and be kind to yourself.
To yourself. Wow.
Mm.
Be kind to yourself. I love that. Tina, was there a moment, or when was the moment when you finally told yourself, I can't keep living like this anymore?
Um,
Was there a time like that?
I guess from the wellness talks triggered that. But I don't know. I think it was maybe last year, to be honest. So this wellness talk happened in 2008.
Right.
So yeah, so from
Oh,
2008, I've been on this really long journey of. That's why I'm saying it wasn't easy.
right.
It was not like overnight. Yay, I'm cured. I can,
Ah,
It was a long journey where there was a lot of ups and downs. There were still good times, bad times. I just went on this constant up and down. And I don't know why last year something
mm-hmm.
inside of me said, no, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep going on. I can't keep having these toxic thoughts. I can't keep continuing on with what I'm doing to my body, right? Even though I was on this recovery journey, I hadn't really healed mentally. I was still, again, because I was pretending or, trying to fool myself.
Right.
Or like
Mm.
I wouldn't stop eating, but I might go on a shake diet or something. Oh, see, I'm not starving myself because I'm going on this.
Right.
I was really kidding myself. And then last year I got really sick and I went, I'm done.
Mm.
Okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. And so
Oh,
now I've got myself in a really, really good eating. I'm eating really healthy. I'm eating my meals. I'm exercising. So yeah, it's not a quick fix. Damn, even though it was like 2008 that journey started, probably last year, probably around the July, I've probably been, and then because I started feeling good, I felt like I was ready to tell my story because, how can I say that? I think if I told my story before that, I didn't feel that I was really being authentic or had integrity because I was still,
Yeah.
I was still dieting and
Hiding.
I was still hiding and
Right.
I still wasn't being really kind to myself. But I think since July last year, and that's when I felt comfortable enough to say, yeah, okay, let's share this story. And I can still lapse. That's fairly normal. It's okay. And I'm not going to be hard on myself if I lapse. That's fine
Yeah.
because that's and just get back into, starting eating healthy and being kind to myself where I need to be.
Right. Being kind to yourself where you need to be. And you know what? Thank you so much for being authentic because when we were speaking and you spoke about when you attended I think it was a conference or whatever it
The
was that
wellness
the
talk.
seminar, the wellness talk, and you had that guy speak, and then that I think that brought some conviction within yourself, and you realized you had to work on your mindset. So I thought that was it. That was the beginning of the journey, and I thought it was just within a short space of time that you have completely healed and your life was back on track. I didn't realize that it took this long. So, what was the
Yes.
hardest part, Tina, about starting your healing journey? If you can just highlight on that one so that we get the full picture of how this journey actually looked like and not make
I think
assumptions.
I think the hardest part is, and I didn't realize it with the ADHD, is that I took the one thing of focusing on not eating, and I think I took it too extreme to the other end. So
Extreme.
I was being so strict on my exercise and my diet that I wasn't allowing myself to have that moment where I could, maybe eat something that I didn't think was, healthy or something. I think that was really hard that I
Mm-hmm.
went the opposite, right? And that's part of the ADHD that I didn't
Right.
realize I was so hyper focused on saying completely healthy that it was not a healthy thing to do, right? So I was
Right.
really defeating the purpose of everything that he'd said because I just focused on this path of like, well, tunnel, that's it, that's where I'm going straight ahead, just
Mm.
got to do this, all this. So I didn't
Tunnel
give
vision.
I didn't give myself flexibility. Like, it's okay if I lapse. That's fine. That's normal. That's human. So I think that was
Mm.
part of the hardest thing that I needed to learn, that it was okay that if I had a bad day and ate something, not to stress
Yeah.
about it. So, and that's the same with your audience. Okay, might have a day where you eat something you shouldn't eat. That's okay. Just
Mm.
don't beat yourself up about it. Just move on and continue on for where you are. Hard thing was again not telling people because
Mm-hmm.
there was this shift in again the way I was because I started to eat healthy and I was really passionate about sharing it, but people didn't have
Yeah.
context. They didn't understand why I was so passionate about sharing his message about eating well, moving well, and thinking well, because
Mm-hmm.
I didn't share again. I kept masking
Ah.
who I was. This whole
Right.
time you masked. So people
Right.
were going, why is she doing this for? Why is she on this really massive
Ah.
health kick?
They
Because
they couldn't relate. They couldn't relate. I
no.
mean, wow.
Yeah. So that's probably
Right.
the biggest thing is this unmasking is hard. It's super hard, Sandy.
Mm.
Even now, that mask, around certain people, it goes on. It's so hard to be your true
Mm.
authentic self. So I try to surround myself like I find really places where I can be that. And that was one of the struggles was how am I going to find places where I can be my true authentic self in that time? And one is my gym. I've been at my gym. It's like a CrossFit gym for 16 years. Gosh, my coach
Wow.
says to me,
16
Tina, never
years.
stop being you because that's my safe
Mm.
space. I can just go in and
Mm.
be the real authentic bubbly
Be
Tina
yourself.
there. And then my singing, I'm singing in a band. I love performing. I forgot how much I missed all that. I just love I love that. So I guess that was the hardest thing, was trying to find, it took me a long time to find where I fit in life. And then again, the
Right.
diagnosis made more sense. And then now I go, okay, this is why I do things. This is what I need to be happy. And now that's what I do to cope and get myself through, is just, find those places where I can just be me.
That's the secret, finding the places where you can just be you.
Yes, absolutely.
I loved how you touched on how you were busy sharing your story and people were not just understanding why you're so passionate about that topic, and yet it had nothing to do with you, because you had masked everything so well. So people could not put two and two together. I like that you shared that, because this will speak to people who might be in the coaching industry and they are offering a service or offering some type of product or something like that. But they are not bringing themselves to the table. They are bringing their offer, but they've taken themselves, their story out
Mm.
of their offer, such that people can hear you, they see you offering whatever it is, but it's not relatable because you have not spoken about that particular thing, as in relating it to your own life. So I'm glad that you brought that out. This is just, this should be something that when coaches or consultants, when they listen to this, they need to realize that you need to bring your story. Your story will always be the missing piece to whatever it is that you are selling out there. As long as that story is not there, people will just think you're just passionate about something. But the day that they realize that this passion is actually your story, the whole thing changes. It's a game changer. So I want you to
Absolutely.
speak to someone, Tina. I want you to speak to someone. For someone who feels disconnected from themselves. Because I want to believe at some point in your life you feel disconnected until you finally started putting the puzzle together and realizing it could be this and this. Where do they even begin? Where does that person begin?
I guess it's going to be different for everyone. And like I said, I share my experience for where I started. But I think the first step is talking to someone about it. Like I didn't talk to everyone. Even to this day, I still
Mm,
didn't get any professional help at all. And
right.
if I look back and I can talk to my 16-year-old self now, I would say reach out, talk to your parents, talk to your parents. If you can't speak to your parents, maybe find someone, a teacher or someone that you can speak to. I think that would be the first start. Um, and then in terms of what the next steps are, I guess they need to find out what resonates or what works for them. I mean, for me, for my journey, I had to work on understanding me and getting to know me again. That was the thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and not being so hard on myself. So definitely reach out and get help. Don't be so hard on yourself if you're feeling like that. Like for me, I felt like a failure, and I wasn't. It was just something that I had to do at the time to get me through a situation. So everybody's going to be in a situation where they might have, it's going to be tough and they have to make sacrifices. So, and that's part of life and it's okay. So it's fine for you to do that, I guess. And then what else they could do? It's really hard to say, but for me, it was like I always go back to the arc, right? Think about those three things and where you can be authentic, reconnect, and kind to yourself. But so reach out to someone, be kind to yourself, and then focus on that journey. And it's a journey, and don't worry if you have ups and downs. Gosh, like I said, 2008 was when my journey started. That was a
Mm,
long time. It's not an easy
wow.
fix. It's not going to happen overnight. So don't worry about that. It's one day, one step at a time, and just do that one thing that, if you're feeling like your life is like, you feel like you're out of 10, you're a 2. What's that one tiny little thing that can move you up the scale to a 10? is it, going having a bath, or is it going for a walk, or is it listening to music, or is it just singing loud and proud somewhere, and it doesn't matter if people don't like you're singing loud and proud. So I think that's probably, for me, that's the sort of things that I did, but everyone's going to be different, and so do what works for you.
Do what works for you. You've heard it for yourself. Do what works for you. So I want to just go back to your ARC method. That is authentic,
Reconnection.
authentic, reconnection, and kindness, being kind to yourself.
Yes.
So what does being kind to yourself look like in real life and not just in theory?
Okay, so for me, being kind to myself is definitely the way that I talk to myself internally. So that's a big thing, because that was something that I really, really struggled with for a long time, is that I didn't have kind thoughts about myself. So I catch it and then rephrase it. So if I going to have a negative thought about myself, I stop myself, and then I rephrase that and how to make that positive. And I have empathy for myself. That's a really, really hard thing that I have found I need to do, is I don't have any empathy for myself. So I think that empathy and kindness will go together. So I do make sure that, I'm not so hard on myself anymore. I just thought I had to be perfect. That's part of the neurodiversity, is Tina, you don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. I can make mistakes. And there's that kindness, being kind to myself. I was like, I say you make a mistake, and that's okay. But I guess when kindness, I'm making now, it's really hard, right? Because as a mum for so long, you don't think about yourself. You don't put yourself first. But, being kind to myself is going have a bath. Just going having a bath, or maybe buy, I want to buy a new pair of shoes. Go buy a new pair of shoes. So that's how kindness turns up for me. But the first real thing is the way I talk to myself. Make sure that I catch myself not going into that negative self-talk that I used to, and just quickly catch it and then rephrase it into something positive.
Right. Perfect. Awesome. I love that. Awesome. Before we round off, you highlighted on the fact that sometimes you do fall back. You do fall backwards, but now you have a different approach as compared to how you used to deal with things back then. So in those moments that you fall back into your old patterns, how do you handle it now as compared to back then?
Well, it's good, like I said, because I've had my ARC philosophy. I look at where, I consider it like a leak. Where is there a leak in my ARC? And like I said, I find that a lot of times it's that kindness, but it's also being authentic. So because I've been masking for so long, I need to remind myself to be my authentic self. Now, not everyone's going to like the loud, bubbly Tina. But you know what? It's okay, because I like
That's
the
you.
loud, bubbly Tina. And everybody's different. And but people relate to you as who you are, because they can feel if you're not being your true self. So the most important thing for me is, when I'm struggling, is to remind myself that I like me when I'm loud and bubbly. So to focus on that.
I love that. Couldn't have said it any better. I like me, even if that's the most important thing, isn't it? You liking you, no matter if people are not comfortable with it or people don't like you, that's their problem. I love that. I love that. So before we go, Tina, because there are going to be people who are going to be watching this and are really going to resonate with your story. And there could be some people who are actually still battling what you had to overcome, the journey that you had to walk. And we might have parents out there whose children are actually in this battle as we speak. So I know a lot of people will truly resonate and benefit from this conversation. So, where can people find you? And if you can let us know how you currently work with people, your offers and everything. And if you've got a book, let us know where we can find everything.
So my website is www.tinainspireshope.com. And so I'm not a trained professional. I'm sharing my story. So a lot of the work that I'm doing is I have a community for women where they can come and join and feel supported. And also I'm available for speaking engagements, just sharing my story like I have now. And because I just, Sandy, that wellness speaker's words saved my life. And if I can share my story and just help one person, then, it's all worth it. And that's what I'm here to do, is just share my story and inspire others that there is hope and healing, even though, there was a point in my life where I didn't think I'd be here, but I am. So if I can share my message and change one's person's life, then, that's all I can ask.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you for taking your time in your busy schedule to come and share your story and not being selfish, because you were helped through listening to someone else. And the fact that now you are putting yourself out there just to help someone else come out of that same place that you're in. So thank you so much. Really, really appreciate.
Thank you, Sandy,
Thank
for
you.
giving me the opportunity to share my story.
Thank you. And if you've been watching this conversation and this conversation truly spoke to you, don't just move from this conversation. I want you to sit in this conversation. Remember what Tina shared, her journey, her life story, how she put everything else and everybody else before herself and removed the focus from the very thing that she needed to focus on, which was her. And you need to start telling yourself the truth. That's what Tina shared with us. It starts by telling yourself the truth and see that you are in that right place that you need to be. I'm going to share again Tina's arc, which I absolutely loved, which is you need to be authentic. So if you're finding yourself struggling or going through the similar things that Tina went through, remember the arc, be authentic. It's okay. It's okay to be authentic. There's always someone out there who's going to understand your struggle. Don't worry about everybody else. They've got their own struggles. Be authentic. Reconnect. Find people to connect with, people who are in a similar situation or who have overcome what you've overcome. You can get in touch with people like Tina. She's been there. And reconnect. Find someone to connect with. And lastly, be kind to yourself. And kindness starts with the mind. The very things that you are telling yourself. Rewire those thoughts. Rewire those things that you are telling yourself, because it is what you're entertaining within your mind that will manifest in through your whole life. So be kind to yourself. Continue reminding yourself that you are an amazing person and you can do whatever you set your mind to do. If you decide to be authentic, it doesn't matter who doesn't like the authentic you. It's not about anybody else. It is about you being authentic and reconnecting to your authentic self. So if you've really enjoyed this conversation, make sure to share it with someone who needs to hear this, because I'm sure there's someone who needs to hear this. And make sure to like this video so that you don't miss out on any of the conversations that we'll be having. But before we leave, I want to share this with you, which is Psalms 34, verse 18. It talks about the Most High. It talks about how God is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. When someone is going through things, when you are battling things like eating disorders, your mindset, all these things, all these voices, you are at a place of brokenness. You are at a place of being crushed. And this verse will be the encouragement that you might need. You might not be a believer, but I'm sure you might find some encouragement and hope in this verse. So if you've enjoyed this conversation, once again, if it has encouraged you, I'll leave Tina's links in the comment section, so be sure to check out the links. And remember to be authentic, reconnect, and be kind to yourself. So for now, we are checking out, and do take care and stay blessed.